Today I would like to invite you to listen to the Dhammapada of the Buddha Shakyamuni, the 108th verse from the Buddhist scriptures on the YouTube channel TN Thai in the USA. In this world, whatever gift or alms a person seeking merit should offer for a year, all that is not worth a single quarter of the reverence towards the upright, which is excellent. In this verse, the Buddha teaches the supreme value of reverence, respect, and mindful attention toward those who have perfected themselves in virtue, wisdom, and insight, gifts, alms, and material offerings. While virtuous, remain external acts. Their merit, though meaningful, is limited by impermanence and attachment. In contrast, reverence directed toward the upright, those who embody the Dharma fully, cultivates the mind directly, producing ethical refinement, clarity, and insight. Stories in the Dhammapada recount disciples who, upon encountering fully realized beings, experienced profound shifts of understanding, ethical reflection, and inner peace. A single moment of sincere attention and honor toward the upright far exceeds a year's worth of material giving in its capacity to awaken insight, inspire ethical conduct, and nurture the seeds of liberation. The verse reminds us that the highest value in spiritual practice is internal cultivation, mindfulness, ethical conduct, and reverent attention to wisdom, rather than external accumulation of material merit. The teaching also emphasizes the transformative nature of reverence. Honoring the upright awakens the mind to qualities such as patience, compassion, ethical restraint, and insight. By observing and reflecting upon the conduct, speech, and mind of perfected beings, practitioners internalize the ethical and spiritual principles they exemplify. The story of a wealthy donor who gave generously to monasteries yet remained restless in mind illustrates this truth. When he offered sincere reverence to an arahant, even briefly, his understanding deepened. He realized that material giving alone could not cultivate the clarity, restraint, or insight that observation and reverence of the upright inspired. The mind, engaged sincerely with virtue and wisdom, absorbs these qualities naturally. Ethical conduct, self-restraint, and insight are nurtured, producing merit that is lasting, profound, and directly supportive of liberation. External offerings serve as supports, yet they are secondary to the cultivation of mindfulness, attention, and ethical awareness. The 108th verse further teaches that reverence for the upright cultivates humility and receptivity. Gifts and alms, when offered without awareness, may produce pride or attachment to social recognition. Honoring those perfected in Dharma, however, softens the mind and diminishes ego, allowing for true learning to occur. The story of the wealthy donor demonstrates that even generous giving over a long period cannot substitute for the humility, reflection, and internalization of virtue inspired by a single moment of sincere reverence. When the mind encounters wisdom and ethical perfection, it naturally becomes receptive to guidance, reflection, and cultivation. The Buddha emphasizes that humility is essential for spiritual growth because it allows the mind to recognize the value of ethical conduct, mindfulness, and insight beyond external performance. By honoring the upright, the practitioner aligns the mind with virtue, cultivates patience, and strengthens resolve to practice mindfulness and ethical reflection. This practice produces enduring merit that far surpasses the superficial accumulation of material gifts. Moreover, the verse highlights the role of attention and intention. The mind fully engaged in reverent observation of the upright absorbs the qualities of wisdom, restraint, and ethical conduct. Stories from the Dhammapada illustrate disciples whose brief encounters with enlightened beings triggered deep reflection and transformation. The mind, attentive and reverent, internalizes the lessons exemplified in speech, conduct, and presence. Insight into Impermanence, non-attachment, and ethical living arises naturally. In contrast, unmindful giving, performed mechanically, may produce external merit but leaves the mind unchanged. The Buddha teaches that the highest benefit in spiritual practice arises from the quality of attention, ethical reflection, and sincerity directed toward wisdom and virtue. Even a fraction of a year's worth of material offering cannot match the transformation produced by sincere reverence and mindful attention to the upright. The 108th verse also emphasizes the enduring value of internal cultivation. Material offerings are impermanent, their effects contingent upon circumstance and subject to decay. In contrast, the benefits of honoring the upright are internal, lasting, and transformative. The story of the wealthy donor who offered gifts for a full year yet experienced true insight only when honoring a saint illustrates this teaching. Reverence awakens understanding, strengthens ethical conduct, and fosters clarity of mind. By observing the serene presence, wise speech, and ethical restraint of the upright, the practitioner is inspired to cultivate these qualities within themselves. The mind internalizes ethical principles, reflection deepens, and insight into impermanence and interdependence develops. Reverence becomes a vehicle for mindfulness, ethical refinement, and spiritual growth, producing merit that endures beyond the fleeting value of external gifts. Furthermore, the verse teaches that the cultivation of ethical conduct and mindfulness through reverence has a multiplicative effect. By aligning attention with the qualities of the upright, the practitioner not only strengthens personal virtue, but also becomes a source of inspiration for others. Stories in the Dhammapada recount disciples whose practice, inspired by respect and attention to enlightened beings, influenced their communities, spreading ethical conduct, compassion, and mindfulness. The merit arising from such internal cultivation is not limited to the individual. It benefits all sentient beings through the ripple effect of ethical action and inspired conduct. By honoring the upright, the practitioner contributes to a network of virtue, insight, and ethical refinement that extends far beyond personal practice. The Buddha teaches that the greatest gift is that which cultivates the mind, nurtures insight, and inspires ethical conduct, surpassing all material offerings in value. Finally, the 108th verse reminds practitioners to prioritize mindfulness, attention, and ethical engagement over external accumulation of gifts. Reverence for the upright strengthens resolve, nurtures ethical conduct, and inspires ongoing reflection on virtue and wisdom. Even brief attention directed toward a perfected being produces insight, calm, and ethical refinement that far surpasses prolonged, unmindful offerings. Stories in the Dhammapada demonstrate that disciples who honored enlightened beings developed patience, self-restraint, compassion, and clarity, transforming habitual tendencies of anger, desire, and pride into virtuous action. The mind, engaged with sincerity, reflection, and reverence, becomes a source of enduring merit. The Buddha teaches that internal cultivation, mindfulness, ethical reflection, and sincere attention to wisdom forms the highest foundation of spiritual practice. Material gifts support practice but cannot substitute for the transformative effects of reverence, humility, and insight. By consistently honoring the upright, the practitioner aligns the mind with ethical principles, cultivates mindfulness, and awakens insight. The merit arising from such practice endures beyond the impermanence of material offerings, rituals, or ceremonies. The Buddha emphasizes that the most profound benefit arises from transformation of the mind through attention, reverence, and ethical reflection. Stories in the Dhammapada illustrate that even a single moment of sincere honor produces insight, strengthens ethical conduct, and inspires ongoing cultivation. By observing, reflecting, and internalizing the qualities of the upright, the practitioner cultivates enduring merit, ethical refinement, and clarity that support liberation. This teaching reminds us that the highest spiritual value is found in internal cultivation, mindful attention, and reverent recognition of those perfected in Dharma. The 108th verse also emphasizes the incomparable and transformative power of reverence toward those who are upright, perfected in Dharma, and fully realized. In this world, the accumulation of material gifts, offerings, and alms can be immense, extending over months and years. Yet their impact remains limited if the mind is not engaged, aware, and internally transformed. Generosity, while virtuous, can be performed mechanically for social recognition, or out of attachment, craving praise, or expectation of reward. Such giving, although producing some merit, cannot penetrate the subtle layers of the mind to cultivate true insight, ethical refinement, and lasting calm. The Buddha teaches that the merit of honoring the upright is incomparable precisely because it engages the mind with full awareness, humility, and reflection. Stories from the Dhammapada illustrate that disciples and devotees, even those who had been long devoted to material acts of generosity, experienced profound spiritual awakening through a single, sincere act of attention to a perfected being. A simple bow, a respectful listening to the teachings, or mindful reflection upon the qualities of a saint ignites the seeds of insight, ethical refinement, and mental clarity. The mind, inspired by the purity, patience, wisdom, and restraint observed in the upright, naturally begins to cultivate these qualities within itself, creating merit that is enduring, transformative, and directly aligned with the path of liberation. Furthermore, the verse encourages the practitioner to reflect deeply on the inner value of spiritual relationships and the presence of wisdom in one's life. To honor the upright is to recognize the embodiment of Dharma in action, in thought, and in speech. In doing so, the practitioner cultivates mindfulness, ethical perception, and clarity of understanding. A wealthy donor, for example, who might give lavish offerings to monasteries or engage in ceremonial acts of generosity for an entire year, may find that these efforts, while impressive, fail to cultivate the mind with the depth that a single act of sincere reverence toward an enlightened being can. By observing and honoring the upright, one internalizes the qualities of patience, restraint, compassion, and insight. The act of reverence functions as a mirror for the mind, reflecting the possibility of transformation and encouraging the practitioner to aspire toward the cultivation of the same qualities. The merit generated by such engagement is not fleeting, it endures in the transformation of habitual tendencies, in the strengthening of ethical conduct, and in the continuous development of mindfulness and insight, all of which are essential for liberation. The 108th verse also highlights the role of intention and attention in spiritual practice. Merit is not merely the result of external acts, but arises primarily from the quality of mind applied to those acts. When gifts are offered, without mindfulness, reflection, or understanding, their benefit is limited. In contrast, when attention is directed with sincerity, awareness, and reverence toward the upright, the mind becomes receptive, reflective, and inspired. The story of a devotee who, after years of ritual generosity, experienced true insight upon witnessing the serene conduct of a saint illustrates this principle. The devotee's mind, previously distracted and attached to external achievement, was awakened by the example of the perfected one. He realized that the accumulation of wealth, ritual, and material offerings could never cultivate the depth of ethical refinement, serenity, and insight that mindfulness, reverence, and engagement with virtue could bring. Through sincere attention and humble respect, the mind aligns with the Dharma, absorbing ethical and spiritual principles in a living, experiential way. This internal cultivation produces merit that cannot be measured by material wealth, ceremonial acts, or the duration of giving. It is the merit of transformation, insight, and ethical growth, which endures across time and supports liberation for oneself and others. Moreover, the verse emphasizes that the highest form of giving is not measured in quantity, but in quality and mindfulness. Reverence toward the upright engages the heart and mind directly, producing a lasting influence that extends far beyond the immediate moment of offering. As the mind internalizes the ethical, virtuous, and wise qualities of the perfected being, it gradually manifests in daily thought, speech, and action. Stories in the Dhammapada recount disciples who, through consistent attention and respectful recognition of enlightened beings, developed patience in adversity, compassion for others, restraint in behavior, and clarity in understanding. The ripple effect of this internal cultivation benefits not only the practitioner, but also those around them, spreading virtue, insight, and ethical living. The Buddha teaches that merit arising from sincere reverence toward the upright has a profound multiplier effect, creating positive conditions for oneself and others, cultivating harmony, insight, and ethical refinement that endure long after material offerings or rituals have faded. Finally, the 108th verse serves as a profound reminder to prioritize internal cultivation, ethical reflection, and mindful attention over external accumulation. The merit of honoring the upright surpasses that of countless gifts or alms precisely because it transforms the mind, nurtures insight, and inspires ethical living. By reflecting upon the conduct, speech, and presence of a perfected being, the practitioner gains clarity about impermanence, non-attachment, and the value of ethical action. Even a brief moment of sincere reverence can catalyze profound change, awakening insight and humility, inspiring continuous practice, and fostering mental calm. The Buddha emphasizes that the highest merit is not dependent on wealth, duration of ritual, or quantity of giving, but on the quality of attention, mindfulness, and reverence applied to the cultivation of virtue and insight. By honoring those perfected in Dharma, we cultivate the mind, strengthen ethical conduct, and awaken understanding, producing enduring merit that surpasses any external offering and guides us steadily toward liberation, enlightenment, and the benefit of all sentient beings. May we reflect on the 108th verse and remember that the highest merit arises not from the quantity of gifts, offerings, or external acts, but from sincere reverence, mindful attention, and ethical reflection toward those perfected in Dharma. Even a single moment of honoring the upright surpasses a year of material, giving and cultivating insight, virtue, and inner transformation. Let us practice mindfulness, humility, and respect, observing the wisdom and ethical conduct of saints, allowing their example to inspire patience, restraint, compassion, and clarity in our own lives. By cultivating the mind in this way, we create merit that endures, transforms habitual tendencies, and supports liberation for ourselves and all beings. Thank you for watching my video. Namo Amitba. I wish to bring this merit towards all disciples and sentient beings, all of whom will attain Buddhahood. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really appreciate your time.